Hey, everybody. Welcome to another ChangeNerd webcast. I'm Stephanie Waite, the co-founder of ChangeNerd, and I'm here today with Priscilla Guaso. I'm so excited to have you with us again today, Priscilla. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to be discussing not a topic that we are unaware of. This is a topic that we're so excited to have Priscilla back with us. She was with us for the first part of this series, really talking about Latinas rising up in HR. It was so incredible, and we got such a great response that we want to invite her back as part of a second part to the series, where today we're going to talk a lot about the pragmatic approaches and the framework for building really a Latina equitable culture. So Priscilla, I'm so excited to have you today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to the Change Nerd community for welcoming us with just wide and open arms.
Yes. Oh, we welcome you very much back. So I want to tell our community, for those of you who haven't seen the first part of this series, I want to tell our community a little bit about you because you're just such an incredible person. I know that you've really been, a pioneer and HR leader that's been making an impact for Latinas in the community for a very long time. You've done a lot of cultural change and really, like us, building a community right now around Latinas in HR. But what's most incredible about you is that you're a founder and a speaker of Latinas Rising Up in HR, and you had 15 years of executive experience in HR. And not just in one industry, you've been in hospitality, healthcare. And I know you're also originally from Chicago. You're in Miami still, yes?
Yes, I consider myself a little bit of a snowbird, getting away from the cold in the winter and coming to the warmer climates. But yes.
Good. Well, you can bring some of that sunshine here. If you're watching this and it's snowing outside, we'll be jealous of you at this moment. I also want to say, you've had such an incredible experience across all facets of HR. So the thing that I love really talking to you about is, the first session, the first series was really about, the theoretical aspect, right, of Latinas rising up in HR and really building equitable cultures. Today, we're really going to get into this pragmatic approach, and you're going to share a framework with us. But before we get there, I want you to have an opportunity to share a little bit more about yourself. So tell our community a little bit more about you.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I welcome and appreciate just the opportunity to be here with your team and with your community. Latinas Rising Up in HR was an idea that came in my mind about 5 years ago. And as with many things, many of the times we say, "Oh, we're going to wait. It's something somebody will do it. That idea will happen. Somebody will create it, and then I'll follow it and be a great ambassador." Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And as I moved up in my career, more and more was it very prevalent that there's very few Latinas in human resources. So rather than complain about it and just keep thinking about it, well, it took about 5 years to make some action. The timing was impeccable. And this past year, we built a book, right? And I say we because it was myself and 19 other authors, co authors, who joined me in this effort that believed in our purpose, which is using our keys of knowledge to open doors of unlimited possibilities. And with that, we built Latinas Rising Up in HR. We have now over 200 Latinas that are in HR that are following us, over 500 people on different platforms and social media. It's only been 2 months.
I love
So
it.
I'm thrilled. Thank you. I'm thrilled. But my career, my passion, and my love is with this as well as what I do as a leader in human resources. And so this coming year, we anticipate a lot of great things coming from what our platform is and creating just, again, great resources, a community, and a place where we can each be change makers, right? In our own spaces, in our own homes, in our own careers. And so, if that's of interest to you, I say definitely keep an eye out for us because we're coming loud next year.
That's amazing. And we're right here with you. So, what I'm excited is you really talked about the key phrase change makers. And that's really what our community is all about. And, with our values around being provocative and having high integrity and excellence and building community, it's so great to have partnership like you as we go into 2021. So, thanks for being a part of our community as well. I want to get into this because I'm dying to know about this open framework, because I think what's so unique about it is this framework was created after you did all this community research and you really interviewed, Latinas who are in, this executive sort of grouping, but also in HR. And our community is really made up of, executives, of internal practitioners, people who are doing the changes and building these cultures. But then we also have people who are independent consultants. So they're going into different organizations, or they're people who are really, sort of in this private practice around coaching or, leadership development. And it seems like this key framework is literally the easiest thing. So I don't want to spoil it, but is the easiest thing to remember to really help people create equitable cultures. And I know all the research came from sort of the Latina community. And the one thing that I love about this is you talk about how it can be, sort of paralleled or used not just for the Latino culture, but also across organizations and for people. So before we go into the framework and describe it, how did this really come about? Like, what processes did you use? What were your thoughts about who was involved? Tell us a little bit about the background.
Yeah, so with our book, we had 19 women. We had over 30 plus women actually apply to be part of the book. And so I had conversations with every one of them because, again, just because you're Latino, it wasn't going to be the signing on the dotted line of you being in this book. We really wanted to bring leaders that embodied servant leadership, change leadership, that were really trying to do something in our community and outside of their community. And so from there, then our bigger community has been built, right? People that are like, oh, this is a neat idea or movement, or what is this? Right? I want to be part of it because there's this itch, there's this yearning of wanting to have community. I think that's something we all have. But specifically in the Latina community, there is nothing like this in HR, which blows my mind. It really does, especially as we see the numbers of where the country's moving and the globe, right? And so this is a time where we said, let's talk to our community, let's see who they are, what they're doing. And so this past year, what we did is we spoke with a lot of our members that said, hey, I'm going to follow you, I'm curious. And we got to know them. We actually followed a little bit of design thinking. We didn't have as much time, right? But with our experience of having used design thinking, we used key components of that to learn and understand more of our membership base and really hear what are their pain points, what are they going through, and not trying to create solutions, really just listening, right? And then finding what those themes are. And those themes, you'll also see it in our book, you'll see it in the community. But because we had this vulnerable space to share truly all the good, the bad, and the ugly, we were able to create this framework of open, which then connects to our purpose as well, right? With opening doors. And honestly, while this is created and built from and through our community in as Latinas of raising up in HR, we really could use this anywhere, honestly. And it's so simple, but I would say, steal it with with pride. But at the end of the day, it's truly what we want to do is create open opportunities, and new things for everybody.
Sure. Oh, I love that. And you just said probably the sexiest term, to our change your community, design thinking, right? We're all so encapsulated, I think, now to really hear what you came up with. So it's beautiful. You just stated really what the acronym is, right? Which is open. And I love that you connected to your purpose. And I think a lot of times we as change practitioners are really trying to help people to see and align, right? Like, what's the purpose of the organization or the mission of the organization or vision of the organization? And how do all the things that we create come out of that really align? So I love that you created an acronym OPEN, which aligns directly to your purpose. So let's get into it. So tell us, what does OPEN stand for? What does the OPEN stand for?
Yes. So O is for opportunity, P is for philanthropy, E is for exposure, and N is for networking.
Okay, excellent. So I got it. So we all have it now. So let's go through each one, because I know here in the ChangeNerd community, we're also, sort of dying to hear, what does it mean to, create opportunity or give opportunity? So let's start there. Let's talk about the O for a little bit.
Yes. So when we used our lens for working with HR professionals, we love structure, but at the same time, we love having fun with it and being working in the gray. And so, with opportunities, really what we're focusing on here is programming what actual tangible resources to build your career, right? And so that's something that we're working on this year to help build and really enhance the careers of those of our Latinas in HR so that they can continue whether they're considering being in HR, right? What are those HR foundations? What is HR? What am I doing, right? The second is with our entry level and mid level managers, leaders, whatever you want to call them. I call them all leaders, where they're still navigating, trying to figure out what that career path is, but they're unsure of what skills do I need to have, what skills do I need to really possess and own to jump to that next level. And we're usually there for 10 years, right? Just trying to figure it out. But 10 years is a lot of time to let go by. And so, what a better way than creating some type of framework for them, right, in their career? Not to say do A, B, and C and it'll get you to D, right? But saying, all right, you start here and then connect the dot here, depending on where your life's going, and maybe you can connect the dot here. But again, our community HR is still a very new career for them. And through our last podcast, when we were talking, our conversation, we spoke about the top careers that are for Latinas that came out of Latina Equal Pay Day. And you can read things such as housekeeping and landscaping and maintenance and nursing and all very honorable roles. Again, I don't think your role defines who you are as a person. However, I didn't see anything in there as business, entrepreneur, HR executive, where that's the space that I'm in, right? And that's the space that I would love to see more people like me and others jump into. But if you don't know about it, how are you going to get there? And so the best way to do that is through opportunities, right? Creating ways that you really, really open doors through opportunities, right? And we'll be doing that through conversations and different resources and tools that we'll be creating for our community.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think the concept is so striking because, you essentially follow a path. And a lot of us, grow up in specific family situations, or you're exposed to things along the way, or there's, we'll just get hungry or go do different things. And it's not about that. It's creating the environment for people in situations, no matter, who you may associate with or what, career your parents had or whatnot. It's really creating opportunities that you may not have otherwise been afforded. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about community is you calibrate and you learn from others. And I think that's why, Latinas Rising Up in HR is such an incredible community and really aligns with how we operate in ChangeNerd as well. It's diverse within its own space as well. We know HR isn't just, personnel or like one sort of thing. There's talent development, there's change management and business transformation. Often the COEs are the center of excellences of learning and development, leadership development. All of those things fall underneath HR. So it's sort of this broad sweeping, sort of access to multiple, identities or multiple career paths. So I love that. That's brilliant. All right. So that's opportunity. Let's go to P. P, is philanthropy. So let's talk a little bit about philanthropy.
So for our community, when I spoke with many individuals, we really weren't even thinking about our careers. Yes, that's great, but a lot of the reason people were joining us was to give back and to pay it forward. And so since that is a key component and a key pillar of who we are as a community, we wanted to ensure that we embedded that into what we do, right? What our purpose is, our values, and our focus. And so through philanthropy is really teaching the next generation, right? What is HR and why it's such an amazing career field to look into, as you mentioned previously with opportunities. It's really hard for you to reach for those opportunities if you really don't even know those things exist, right? And so our hope and our goal is to continue the education and awareness around our field of HR and really impact as much youth as we can to encourage them and motivate them to consider HR as a career. We'll also be creating open doors through our two scholarships, which partial proceeds go to that. One for a student that's aspiring to get into HR that's in college, and then also another scholarship for an individual that's been working that maybe wants to get their SPHR or their PHR, But unfortunately, in their organization, they don't have the support, or maybe they just don't have tuition reimbursement, right? And we want to be able to provide that opportunity, right? So through philanthropy, there's many other ways we'll be coordinating with other organizations that have that same mission and vision and purpose. So it doesn't all just come out of us, and we're constantly working with STEM, and we're working with engineering, and we're working with all of other fields, because I really believe that together we can make a much bigger impact than doing it in silos. And so we'll also be looking at, we've got a lot of people that are focused on mentorship, right? And how do they build that, and giving back, not even just to the youth, right? To us as professionals. I spoke to a senior executive that was a VP of HR at a big organization, and she goes, Priscilla, did you know that in my career, I didn't even know what a P&L was? I didn't know how to manage my head count. I didn't, and to raise my hand and say, I don't know, once you get to these senior levels is pretty vulnerable and hard. And then they might look at you and say, what are you doing here? Right? That imposter syndrome kicks in. But if I can give back and share my keys of knowledge to others that are about to embark in that, in their career journey, why not? Right? Why wouldn't I'm saving them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of having to figure it out. And it really can be done over a conversation. And so the fact that we are gravitating leaders that are like that, it motivates me to know that we have a new wave of leadership that's coming. Again, that's helping each other rise up in this field of HR that we love so much.
Yeah, I love it. And I so appreciate your definition around philanthropy, right? I think so often people, especially in the HR space, or if you're internal to an organization or if you're an executive, right, listening right now, people often think of it as the financial resource. Like there's a fiduciary responsibility, right? And the way that I love that you all are thinking about philanthropy or redefining it in a way and really actually rebuilding culture is around, looking at resources or philanthropy is not just monetary. There's, effortful interactions. There's mentorship. There's, I would even say creating opportunities, right, for people also would be, sort of tied to philanthropy as well. And, really looking at how do we catalyze, how do we, support people to achieve, to your point, their long-term vision for who they want to become and who they want to be. So I think that's huge and such a mental model shift, I think, for a lot of people, especially listening, on our webcast today. So
Yeah,
perfect. Go ahead.
oh no, there's so much to be said that when you look at the research, and when you give back, right? When you put an effort and you, not to receive something in return, you truly are giving it to give back. The value of what changes in you, and just even physically and internally, it's tenfold. And that doesn't have a dollar amount to it, right? And that's actually what keeps motivating us to do more and to inspire others. 2020 was a rough year. 2021 is going to be amazing. I feel it. But with that said, you also want to also do your part, right? And I tell everyone, as leaders, we have a responsibility to give back. We have a responsibility to change, and be part of that change for next year and next year and the next year. And so we do that. One way is definitely through how we look at philanthropy and give back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, giving back again is such a personal, intimate, responsibility. And, I also think, I know Brian and I talk a lot about in ChangeNerd, how are we, providing that giving back sort of mentality, and what does it look like, and how are we actually making social impact? And that's really a lot of, where our identity lies within ChangeNerd as well. But the thing that I love that you just talked about that might be even different for our change nerd community is really thinking about, okay, myself within the organization, how do I take on these things and sort of navigate my own path? So that's another reason I really like this framework is it's not just about going in and using it in an organization. You can really parallel this to yourself as well. Like, am I creating opportunities, not just for myself, but for others? Am I, giving back, and am I seeking out philanthropy, right, in some way, shape, or form from others? But also, how am I affecting that? We don't just need to wait for others to do it. Kind of like what you said in the beginning about, I was waiting for 5 years. It's like you gave back and you're giving back to your community in a way that's really philanthropic. So, all right, I love this. So O is opportunity, P is philanthropy. We got OPE. Let's go to the N part, EN. So let's go to E. So E is really about exposure.
Exactly, it's exposure. And so another area that I saw that there was a gap in speaking to many Latinas in HR is that they weren't being offered a platform or a place to be seen as subject matter experts. They're great workers, hard workers, and trying to allow the work to share and demonstrate who they are as leaders. However, as we all know, and we constantly share with each other, is part of that is visibility, right? Out of sight, out of mind. You could be the best working bee ever and making sure that everything's turning in the machine, and not until you disappear is that, oh wow, what happened, right? And so what we're trying to teach and educate and grow within our mentality in the Latino community is it's very important to ensure that you have exposure in the different platforms, whether it's in corporate America, whether it's in nonprofit, but that you're being seen and you're being recognized for the work that you're doing, that it doesn't fall on your employer to always do that for you. And the truth is, we're busy, right, as HR professionals, and we always don't do the best in recognizing our own teams because we're doing such a good job at doing that for everyone else. However, for us and our community, that can actually work against us as well because we're doing it for everyone. We get excitement out of really helping others and serving others, but at the same time we can't lose the fact that if you look at the numbers with how we're getting paid as Latinas, right, and that's 54 cents a dollar, and there's all these other numbers that we can look at. What's going to help us with that gap is exposure and visibility and recognition. And so, what does that mean? Really using this platform to showcase that there are Latinas that are in HR that are phenomenal, that you want on your team. And I want to see every company fighting for them, right? Because again, that's going to help the gap in our community overall, right? And that helps their families, that helps their parents that they're taking care of, that helps their kids, that helps their own financial stability. It helps our future wealth of as a community, and that's something that we're still building together, and so and individually. And so that is my hope and goal is that as a community we can also nominate Latinas that are in HR for different awards that are out there in different industries, and really use this as a place to spotlight these women that right now aren't being seen because again for different reasons. I don't want to lump them all under one category because it's so diverse within our group, but the key being is they need to be seen as subject matter experts and be asked and invited to panels to speak when we have for instance, like with Sherm, they've reached out and said, hey, let's work together, we'd love to see more Latina leadership in the different places that we're doing business. I mean, that's music to my ears because then you're using your platform to do that. Similar to what ChangeNerd is doing with us here today, is giving us a platform to share what we know and how we can better and change also your cultures and go in the direction of what your purpose is as a company. I feel like that's something in our DNA that we have as a community as well. And so the best way to do it is through visibility, and that also helps representation. When I think of when I was a young kid, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I still laugh. I'm an adult and I'm still figuring it out some days.
Aren't we
Right.
all, Priscilla?
We all are. But it's powerful to see others. It's powerful to see women in new roles. It's powerful to see Latinas that are breaking barriers, and to be part of that and to create this visibility is something that we've not had before. And I think that that's also going to help us change the numbers and change people's mindsets more than anything, so that they can consider this community as future leaders, because I know we are. It's just a matter of now coming together and finding those amazing advocates, right, that want to go down this journey with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're so excited to be alongside you and be partnering with you to really, to your point, and the letter E, really provide exposure as humbly as we can, to support our values as well, which are just so in alignment. I think the other amazing thing about exposure is it doesn't directly tell you you have to or you should, right? There's no value laden words that are around that. It's, well, let's provide you with a buffet of opportunities, right? And we know, the psychology of choice is so powerful. And I think, we as change practitioners, I think everybody, on this webcast listening right now has read the book Nudge, right? It's like, how do we create these environments where we're kind of nudging, individuals with these small tweaks or small behavior changes and creating an environment where individuals are being nudged. They may not even understand or know that HR was never not an opportunity. I know that's a double negative, but just go with me, right? Is that, we want to get to a point where for, anyone, listening to this right now, that, human resources, again, any, element underneath it, or people and culture, or, business transformation or change management, any of those functions underneath the human resources umbrella, if you will, is an opportunity. There is that exposure that you're providing. So I love how these are all kind of integrating together. All right, so we've got open, or opportunities, excuse me. Open is O. Opportunities. We've got our P, which is really around philanthropy. We've got E, which is exposure. Let's wrap it all up and let's talk about N, which is networking.
Yes. And so I say we're intrinsically made to network. I personally love speaking with people, and that's a good and a bad thing, right? Because the next thing you know, it's been 2-3 hours, and you're like, wait, what did we achieve? So at some point, we're gonna put focus on this. That'll be our next acronym.
Right? There it is.
But with networking, the whole idea is to really build a community together, right? Build a culture where we're helping one another. And whoever it is, whether you're part of and consider yourself part of the Latinas Rising Up in HR community, or a partner, or just an ambassador of ours, again, it's really, I joke, but I really believe in it. It's that hashtag that together we rise, and that we will do this together. We will continue to make changes. But again, you have to, today's day and age, right, with Zoom and networking different ways virtually, I will tell you, this is a great time to really create new open opportunities, all of that, what we're talking about right now in this time, especially if for those, I understand, and I've spoken to many women that have lost their jobs as of late. And once you find the mental breakdown to be able to do it, because that's another part of it, right? Your mental health and getting there. But once you're there right now, I mean, you really can contact anybody today, right? I'm amazed, and I love seeing those bold leaders that come out and just shoot me a note and say, hey, Priscilla, do you have 30 minutes? I'm going, oh, sure. Again, depending on what the conversation is about, we want to help each other. And through networking, I really call it more like community, because again, it's not just about, hi, here's my business card and this is who I am. It's really finding what is your value and what can you bring to the other person, and they're going to open doors for you in return, right? And a lot of what I've seen in my career and in the women that I've spoken to inside and outside of our community, networking is key, right? It's just, and we all know that. It's how we're here today, you and I, right? And through one of the ladies in our community, that Ariana Paz, who said, hey, I think ChangeNerd is an amazing community that we should partner with. And again, you realize that these doors start opening because of your network, of the people who you connect with, the people you spend time with, and you invested. And so that is the last one of our acronym that I'd say that we're going to be focusing a lot on, with creating different opportunities to network, not just within ourselves, but also with other industries, with other, I mean, why not work with finance and learn more from them on, help me with this P&L, because I keep looking at it and the numbers are going like this to me at a certain point.
How do you sell it? Right? Just kidding.
Yeah, because again, you don't want to be siloed, right? I really believe that we should constantly learning and growing, and what a better way to learn and grow from people that are not like you, right? And so whether that's within one another to build community, but then let's also look outside, because again, I believe that together we'll rise, and we'll be able to get to whatever that success is for you in career and personal. You can achieve it, but we need to help one another through it.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to what you talked about with networking. People who are watching this video and know me, they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what Stephanie and ChangeNerd thinks. It is. I always talk about how networking is like you're slapping like sweaty hands. And now we can't even do that, right, with COVID. But it's really this idea of how are you depositing in? How are you asking people what you can do for them? And you had mentioned this concept earlier, and it just keeps reminding me of one of my favorite books ever, Give and Take by Adam Grant. He is one of the most incredible sort of conceptual writers, and he just talks about it. And you're talking about this too. And this is how Brian and I are trying to create our community as well, which is how do we know that givers flourish around givers, right? So how do you create a community of givers where there's this, mindset of abundance. We can do this all together. Everybody can rise up together. Together we rise, to use your hashtag, rather than that typical sort of networking mindset, which you just talked about, which is really around, sort of taking, then I will give. Taking, then I will give. And it's sort of this dance. And it's like, let's come together. Like, what can I do for you? What are your goals? What are your goals that I can do for you? And vice versa. So I love that. And I think it's such a powerful, again, mental model shift by just sort of redefining a word that we use daily. So I love it. So we've got open as a framework to really focus on building, equitable cultures, but also can really be used as an individual sort of development plan, if you will, to see where you're going. The one thing I want to touch on, you do such an excellent job of talking about how this framework is there, right? Like you can use this. There are also key levels, right? There's like the youth, there's sort of this entry level, there's mid-level, there's also senior level and sort of executive level. What are your thoughts on how this can apply to each of those levels?
Yeah. So if we take a look at the youth, a lot of it is using the opportunity, honestly, that you're young, I always joke, I'm like, man, I wish sometimes I could go back to being a student again, not for the studies and all that, but more so because if you're young and you're ambitious and you want to learn and grow, the best thing you can do is reach out to people that have made it or they're doing it inside and outside of the community and just saying, hey, I'd love to learn from you, right? I have two questions. Start with that, right? And I laugh because when I was younger, that's something I actually learned very well from my college, from my University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and that's how I got my first job. Is just being bold and asking that and looking for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And you can read about that in the book. It's pretty funny actually. But again, offering finding what those opportunities are and going after them for yourself, because they will not come to you. And there's times where they will, right? Again, it depends on how you're using this acronym. They will come to you, but you also have to go out there and reach for it. And so, with opportunity, with philanthropy, again, there's so many ways to give back in your backyard. As a young person, there's that what I admire about the young and the youth that are coming in right now is that's really what drives them and their hearts right now is giving back. And so actually we could learn a few things from the younger generation on this and genuinely wanting to do this in the world, right? And so for exposure, I would say get connected with various communities, be part of ChangeNerd, be part of Latinas Rising Up, be part of a community that's not like you and somewhere where you feel connected to, right? And start asking for those opportunities, raise your hand, really be humble about it, right? But at the same time, be bold and learning and knowing what you want to have, right? And if you don't know, just say it, right? It's okay. We're all figuring it out. And networking is constantly find ways to reach out to other people, right? And ask questions. As a student, there's many people that want to help. And the same thing can go for any level, honestly. I'm going to jump to the senior levels. As a senior and as an executive, when I last left my job, finding ways to constantly learn and grow. There comes to a point as seniors, you feel like you've learned a lot, right, in your career, and you know what you know, right? You're pretty confident what you know. But the world is changing, and I was just talking to another senior that was telling me, Priscilla, I just can't keep up with technology. There's just so much technology. Now my kids are teaching me how to change my name on Zoom, and there's all these things that are happening, right? And so finding ways to give back or through philanthropy, right, and sharing your knowledge with others, you'll be surprised because opportunities will come where you'll learn from them as well. And we've seen that in our community where a lot of the youth or the younger, I wouldn't say youth, but more younger in their career have been sharing, hey, have you guys thought of this and doing a video through this and this? And I'm going, wow, no, but let's run and do it together, right? And exposure is constantly using your platform to rise up, lift others with you. That's something that's very important to us, and we're seeing more senior leaders join us for that reason. Because there's many times, like you said earlier, this mentality of I'm making it, I'm doing it by myself, and I figured it out, and then eventually I'll give back, right? And for a certain stint in my career, I was the same way. I was just trying to figure it out on my own. And then I'm like, eventually I'll give back. And it got to the point where because I wasn't balancing it out and make it being a little more flexible with it, I burnt out. And so now this is my time to give back. But we're looking and hoping that more senior executives will join us in that mission and using their knowledge to help future leaders and make a change in our community.
I love it. Priscilla, thank you so much for sharing not only your research, but also your processes of how to get here so other individuals can really learn from you. And then also sharing this framework that came out of all the community research that you did for, again, really trying to build equitable cultures and really building a life path for yourself, I would say, and really following your dreams, you know? So thank you for sharing open with us in the Change Your community. We are so excited because we're hoping that you can take this framework, you can utilize it right away. If you want to learn more and you want to connect with Priscilla, you can connect with her on LinkedIn. Priscilla's last name is Guasso, Guasso. You can also connect with Priscilla at latinasrisingupinhr.com. Again, it's Priscilla at latinasrisingupinhr.com. Or you can also join Latinas Rising Up in HR at www.latinasrisingupinhr.com. You can also follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, all that kind of jazz at Latinas in HR. I love also what you said about the concept of sort of this opportunity, philanthropy, exposure, and networking, that you're living it with the book, that partial proceeds go to the 2 scholarships for those 2 individuals for 2021. So I'm excited to be a part of your journey, really around this sort of disruption, really being the movers and shakers in this area. You're making an impact, and I'm so excited to see this journey with you. For those of you who just listened to our series number 2, this is number 2 out of a series of 3 parts. So we're really excited to share that with you. We're going to be inviting a number of incredible Latina women who are going to come together to talk about their experiences in their careers. So stay tuned for that. More information coming. For those of you who have joined us today and listened to this and are not part of our community yet, or not a Change Nerd, head over to community.changenerd.com. Join us today. Again, it's community.changenerd.com. And if you just want to check out what we're all about, go to changenerd.com. You can read all about it and check out what we have in store for 2021. If you haven't followed Brian Hampton or myself on LinkedIn yet, go ahead and head over there. And we will continue to produce really incredible content for everybody listening. And we're really excited to take us all into 2021. So thank you again, Priscilla, for joining us today. And we'll see you all over the course of this next year. So have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Stephanie. Bye, Change Nerd.